Hi, I'm Michele Saumberfield, and my soul was Marilyn Monroe's during its last past life. I wanted to read little bits and pieces out of my 2 books I published. I thought maybe that would be the best way for people to get some idea of what my writing style is. I can see the shadows and everything in this room aren't so good. It's pretty dark here. It's nighttime now. All right, already I'm having a problem with little kitty. I have big kitty here and little kitty there. And they're probably going to want to be running in and out of the room and making all kinds of noise. So I apologize for that. Just a moment. Come on, little kitty. Go on out. Move, move, move. All right. Hopefully she won't be fussing to get back in while I'm reading. Okay, it's you and me, buddy. Okay, my big orange Catsby's here. Da, 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 da. He likes to be with Mama, but sometimes he gets mad if Mama's talking to the computer for very long, and sometimes he'll bite me then. He's a good cat. He likes his attention from his Mama, right? All right. So I figured I would read some little bits and pieces from my 2 books. I'm going to struggle. I can tell you that right now. I don't have great lighting here. It's dark. The print is 12-point font, whatever. I can't remember what the font style is, but it's hard for me to read, and I'm gonna use this to see as best I can, but I'm sure I'll still have some problems. However, I wanted people to know what they're getting into if they buy my books. The first book I published was called Marilyn, Not Just Another Girl, The Myth About Sleeping in the Nude. Now, this book came out in fall of 2019. It's my first book, and it's basically about my life, how I grew up, how I have a very religious family that still to this day doesn't believe in reincarnation, but I always wanted to be an actress. I went off to college to study acting, and the summer after my first year in college, I began to have past life memories. And I knew right away my soul was Marilyn's. By my 3rd year of college, I began remembering other lifetimes, and at this point now, I remember bits and pieces of 15 past lives. I would say probably 2/3 of them are female lifetimes, but I also remember being a guy. I know I gravitate toward the arts, although I wasn't always in a position to be involved in the arts, but I tend to gravitate toward performance. And I really wanted to write this book primarily to tell people how I died during my last past life. That was very important to me. But it also became very clear that my book had to be about more than that, or my book would be pretty darn short. I by no means have, full memories of all of Marilyn's life. I remember bits and pieces. I remember thought patterns. I remember some of her hopes and dreams, some of her worries, her hallucinations. I know I had a baby when I was a teenager. I remember dying. I remember bits and pieces of interactions with Bobby Kennedy. I just remember a variety of things, but I by no means remember everything, not in the least. There are also no pictures of Marilyn in my book because I didn't want to have to deal with copyright laws. And I just have very ordinary pictures of myself in the back of the book, just so you can see what I look like throughout the decades. I also talk about my skin cancer surgery, which I had a couple years ago, and it messed up my right eyelid a bit, so I disguised my messed up eye with my glasses. But that was actually the turning point in my life. After various jobs, many crazy relationships, which I talk about here. I talk about going through skin cancer surgery on my face, how it completely just depressed me, wiped me out, made me suicidal. I felt horrible. And after many months, I decided to do a lot of soul searching because I thought a lot about life and death. And I decided, I really needed to come to grips with my karma. I had always felt that I was supposed to tell people how I really died during my last past life, and I would tell people here and there, but most people around me didn't want to talk about reincarnation. But I decided I had to tell people on a bigger scale. So I ended up writing this book for that purpose, but as anyone who believes in reincarnation knows, you're supposed to get on with your life. You're supposed to come back into a new lifetime, heal if you've got healing to do. And you're supposed to try to do things better than you did before. You're supposed to enjoy your life. You're supposed to work towards things. You're supposed to have new goals. You're supposed to be a different person. So honestly, I know a lot of people are disappointed. They probably wish I looked just like Marilyn. They probably wish I talked just like Marilyn, but I don't. Sorry. I'm me. I'm a different person. And I remember being Marilyn and thinking that if I looked different, maybe people would take me more seriously. So I'm not sure that's actually true now, but but here I am, and I wrote my first book. My second book is basically a follow-up book. In it, I talk about what the aftermath was of coming out after I wrote the first book. The first book was called Marilyn, Not Just Another Girl, The Myth About Sleeping in the Nude. And the second book is called Marilyn, Thereafter the Fall, My Consequential Reincarnation. I talk about actually talking online with other people who claim they were Marilyn. I talk about people who supported me and attacked me after I wrote my first book. I talk about being in the initial stages of the pandemic lockdown and living with my boyfriend and his daughter. I talk about how difficult it was becoming a stepmother when I was 40 years old, basically. I was 39 when I met him. I'm 56 now. I was born 23 months after Marilyn died. I talk about people in my life who I believe had been Jack and Bobby Kennedy during their past lives. I talk about a variety of things in both of my books. My books have a lot to do with me, Michele, so if you don't want to hear about me, don't read my books. But I do try to put some things in my books that hopefully will be helpful to other people, and hopefully my books, even though they probably should be read in order, book 1, book 2, hopefully they're standalone enough that people can get something out of them, even if all you do is read book 2. I also hope that even if you don't believe in reincarnation or aren't sure if you like Marilyn, that there's something in these books that would be entertaining, informative, comforting, something worthwhile. So I just want to real quick read some snippets out of both of the books to give you an idea of some things. And I have not looked at this book, oh my gosh, for so long. I'm probably going to stumble around here. I'm going to just take a little sip of this. Don't drink and drive. It's fairly sweet, but a little bit too tart. Ugh. I don't like the tart aftertaste. So I'm just going to read a couple things here. What is this one? Oh, okay. I remember why I marked this one. I want to read this. I met a guy online who, well, I don't want to get all into it, but he was really putting down the Strasbergs. He felt they were a bad influence on Marilyn, and he seemed to really resent the fact that Lee Strasberg ended up with a bunch of Marilyn's possessions, and then not only that, he didn't do anything with most of them, and then his wife, who didn't know Marilyn, not Paula, but the wife that came after, had custody of the possessions and was able to sell them and I guess reap the benefits. So he felt, first of all, that Marilyn's blood-related family should have gotten whatever Marilyn left. And he also didn't like it that the Strasbergs benefited, especially a woman who wasn't even friends with Marilyn. And he was constantly putting down Lee Strasberg, which really, really offends me because I have a completely different point of view on that family. And actually, I thank Lee Strasberg at the end of this book for, you know, such a lovely eulogy. And I also dedicated my book to his daughter, Susan Strasberg, at the front of the book. So this was kind of like just something I wrote, a short little blurb after having conversations with this guy who was upset that the Strasbergs inherited anything at all and that Lee didn't, you know, do anything with a lot of the majority of the inherited items. What's love got to do with it? Everything. Some people speculate that Marilyn would have never attempted to kill herself when she was planning to change her will. The truth is, sometimes people do kill themselves even when they have appointments. I have read that some people are upset because many of Marilyn's belongings ended up in the hands of someone who didn't know her. Well, this is my take on matters. Yes, Marilyn definitely would have liked it if her sister Bernice and niece Monroe, as well as John and Susan Strasberg, would have benefited. After all, she was fond of them. It would have been nice if this had been done early on after her departure. However, I believe with all my heart that the reason Lee Strasberg kept her things stored away was because he couldn't deal with the pain of handling the items and even watching them go away. This would have meant dealing with the loss. Also remember, the Marilyn times also were the Paula times, because Paula did end up dying. So maybe Mr. Strasberg was holding on to a whole something bigger than Marilyn's memories. Perhaps it seems a bit funny, right? Someone who taught others to go to that place and feel might have had a hard time doing that himself sometimes. But after all, even people at the top of their profession are in fact human. The truth, Marilyn studied with Lee Strasberg to change her image, and indeed it helped. So I'm saying I see things from a different point of view, and that's just that. That's my opinion. I think my opinion matters because I was Marilyn Monroe during my last past life. All right. So, okay, so I just wanted to read this story. This is a few pages. I might stumble and be tongue-tied here, but I just wanted to read this story. Now, this is just a story from my own current lifetime, but this is an example. I tell a lot of stories from my own current lifetime. After all, the soul has to go on. You may get the opportunities to do some of the things that you had done before, or to do them better, to make better decisions in the same type of circumstances, and to heal. But life goes on, and I'm a different person now. So basically, I graduated from a college and started working there, that same year I graduated in 1987. I started working clerical work. I ended up leaving the acting. I really just kind of fell into clerical work, even though I studied acting. And I talk in my book reasons why I dropped out of showbiz. Okay, there were reasons. I actually labeled, or I should say titled, one of my chapters, Michele, the Showbiz Dropout. But this is one of the things I talk about, one of my just little side stories, just so you get to know me. I was, I believe, 23 at the time. It was October 1987, and the bookstore on campus was having a contest because there was some book about Marilyn coming out, and it was also the 25th year since her death. I told the girls at my job that I was Marilyn during my last past life. They laughed. Then Sue challenged me. She said, "Okay, prove it. Join the contest and win." I told her it was pointless because I have a pointy nose and my hair was colored red at the time. She taunted me, and then I gave in. She said she would bring in her camera the next day, and I went downtown during lunch hour and bought a very tight-fitting blonde Halloween wig. And it had bangs. Ugh. It was all I could find quickly. I felt I had to go through with the contest. The next day, we took some photos during lunch hour. The dean was out of town and the office manager was gone too. Sue had a key to the dean's office, so as soon as it was noon, we quickly scampered in there, and she took my photo as I was posing on the dean's couch. I was wearing a skirt and heels, and I took off my top so the photo was really showing the top of a slip above my waist. I submitted one picture and threw away the rest because they were horrible. The wig, the damned wig, nasty. I actually had hopes that some other girl would really look like Marilyn and win. I wanted to see her. Surprise, surprise! I won the contest. How is beyond me. I got a call from a guy who gave me the news, and I blurted out, "I can't! How? Didn't anyone else enter?" He seemed taken aback by my response. He said other people entered, but I won. Of course I was happy, but slightly bewildered as well. How on earth could I be the best candidate for a Marilyn contest? I knew what I looked like. My face is angular and not cutesy roundish. I must confess, I had worked 2 summers in a row in the back of that bookstore on campus while still in college. I priced books and inserted brochures into them. I helped inventory merchandise. One semester, I worked at the cash register during the rush sales week, and that was when people had to process credit cards on carbon copy paper. A part of me has always wondered, who judged the contest? Someone I know? I seriously thought that living in a college town with so many pretty girls, surely someone else would have come forward and have been so convincing that the bookstore would have had no choice but to choose them. Then again, maybe the girls submitted photos that were too scanty for the campus paper. I have no idea what the deal was. But I figured I should point that out. Maybe I just got chosen because I had worked there before. They say in showbiz, it's who you know. It was a fun moment in time anyway. Anyway, then there was the ordeal of it all. My photo was in the campus newspaper in black and white. I was happy at first. There were several old women working in the accounting department of the same college I worked in. They were in the building across the street, but I saw them often because I had to walk over there to deliver paperwork. They had been with the college for decades and recognized the piece of artwork in the background of my photo. They called the office manager and asked, "What is Michele doing on the dean's couch? We recognize the picture in the photo." The office manager was all twitchy and nervous and thought there might be a big scandal. He was actually the man who had hired me. Sue was not only the photographer of my photo, but she and her husband were also good friends with the dean. So she explained to him what happened. Michele joined the contest. I took the photo. It was like a joke to us because we never imagined she would actually win. We are sorry. The dean roared with laughter. Case closed. I still keep a yellowed copy of the newspaper in a photo album. The day the paper came out, my dad drove me to a pickup site, and I grabbed 16 copies. I told the man on the phone that I spell my name, Michele, with 1 L. It was spelled wrong. Boo. I was both extremely flattered but also perplexed that I could win this contest. What is funny is the line in the article that says that the judges looked for an entry which portrayed the all-American girl closest. I must not have read the contest rules too carefully or at all. I think I look more like Jane Russell did in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes courtroom scene, where she wears a blonde wig pretending to be Marilyn's character. Funny. All right, sorry I don't read too smooth. But that was one of my real life stories. And I just decided to include it because, I may have ended up doing clerical work, but I got a little bit of a theatrical fun moment there. Okay, what is this for? I'm trying to figure out why I marked up this page. Oh, okay. So I'm going to read one more bit from this page. This is more toward the back of the book. Again, this is Marilyn, Not Just Another Girl, the myth about sleeping in the nude. And I'm talking about a letter I wrote to Edward Kennedy when I was about 20. I think I was 20. I could have been 21. I'm not quite sure. I was 20 or 21. But I knew that he was there the night I died. He, Bobby, and a man with a briefcase were there. And Edward, of course, is still alive. So I wrote him a letter when I was 20 because I really wanted to scare him. Okay, it didn't work, but that's a whole other story. Okay, the letter. I will tell you this. When I was 20 or so, I did write Edward an anonymous letter. No threats, just informing him that I was back and mentioning a couple things. Being smothered by him, and that he and I both knew who I really made love to, not him. Because, well, if you read the book, you'll understand why I'm saying this, okay? It was handwritten in just one page. It might have been front and back. It's so long ago and hard to remember now. I didn't have much to say to him, and I knew he would kill me again if he believed I was her and he could find me. I didn't keep a copy of the letter. Kind of wish I had. I have no idea if he ever received it or if it was disposed of by some clerical worker who opens mail and thought it was junk. I don't recall what address I used either. An older friend suggested he would be at some certain place, and I looked the address up and used it. If he had seen it, I'm sure he would have known and been a little scared. But then perhaps towards the end of his life, he might have been relieved, knowing he could possibly come back. It's hard to say. I don't know how his mind worked, only that he was scary. And then I have this quote in here. The pen is mightier than the sword. Edward Bulwer Lytton, 1839. That's actually a quote. The pen is mightier than the sword. Edward Bulwer Lytton. I think I'm saying the name right. Lytton, 1839. So I talk about how I remember dying when I was Marilyn and my take on why I even bothered to get involved with the Kennedys and just different things that went through my mind and various things. But this book is chock full of all kinds of stuff. I talk about all kinds of things. Let me read what I said here on the back. I'll read part of what I said here on the back of the book. I say, in this book, Michele discusses her personal experiences dealing with eating disorders and overactive bladder, navigating the world of sexpectations, fighting depression after skin cancer, remembering multiple past lives and traumatic deaths, understanding the Marilyn influence on her own lifetime. So that's my book one, Marilyn, Not Just Another Girl, the myth about sleeping in the nude. I called it Marilyn, Not Just Another Girl because the night I died, Edward said to Bobby, "You'll get over her, Bobby. She's just another girl." And that really hurt my feelings. So I wanted to say Marilyn was not just another girl. The myth about sleeping in the nude has to do with the fact that newspapers reported that Marilyn was found in the nude, and I was not actually nude when the three men first entered my bedroom the night I was murdered. So that was a myth, and I wanted to put that out there, and I talk about what I remember. And let's move on to book two. So Marilyn, thereafter the fall, my consequential reincarnation. Well, quite frankly, I just wanted to put the word reincarnation into my title so people knew what this book was about. So that's why I have that very simple subtitle, My Consequential Reincarnation. But Marilyn, Thereafter the Fall, the Thereafter the Fall is just kind of a little spin to Arthur Miller's play title, After the Fall. I know some people were upset because they felt that one of his characters was patterned after some of Marilyn's behaviors, and they thought that was kind of disrespectful. So I just wanted to make this book a little bit different, and there's different references in here where kind of I play on the thereafter the fall part of the title a bit within some of my stories. So that's how I came up with that. If I read the back of the book, it says, in this book, Michele discusses her personal take on dealing with public reactions and talking to other Marilyn claimers, navigating the challenges and joys of a long-term relationship, living during the initial months of the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown, admiring Bobby Kennedy from betrayal to forgiveness, pondering probable karma betrothed from another lifetime. And in my books, I do mention other lifetimes, not just Marilyn's. I just want to make that clear. Marilyn's is the most recent, and Marilyn's, of course, was the most photographed because, you know, the 20th century was the age of photography and movies and big Hollywood. So it's easiest to perhaps focus on a lifetime that's always in the media still, and that was your most recent. But my other lifetimes matter too. So I do make reference to other lifetimes in both of my books. So I just marked a couple pages here. Okay. I want to read this one chapter just because it's about my beloved grandmother, who my sister and I called Nunny. And I think this is important because a lot of people have mixed reactions to me. Some people say, well, you're not as sparkly as Marilyn, or obviously they're disappointed I don't look like Marilyn. And then some people will say they don't think Marilyn would come back looking the same as she did before because she would want to keep a lower profile and to do other things, which is true. Okay. But because beauty is always such a powerful thing that comes up over and over and over again in society, and then, of course, me coming from where I did, my perspective on things, I wanted to just read this chapter about a story that my beloved Nunny told me when I was little. It's about her. So this chapter 7, is called The Nunny Influence. In my first book, I talked about going to Nunny and Papa's house in Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania. My sister Chris and I loved it there. It always felt welcoming. Nothing was fancy, but everything was lovely. Nunny was chatty and Papa was quiet. Papa gave great hugs and always welcomed us to come back. Nunny sewed, baked, watched movies with us, and I wanted to be there as much as possible. Sometimes when we were getting ready to go home at night, Nunny would give Chris and me a treat in little sandwich bags, tiny gumdrops, a bag of them apiece, and the purple ones tasted like wintergreen. When I was older, Papa gave me my first car, and years later, Nunny gave me my second. Nunny was born in 1917, the same year Jack Kennedy was. She often talked about her childhood during the 1920s and early 30s. She grew up in a coal mining town formerly known as Spangler, Pennsylvania. She said that her two younger sisters were cuter than she was, and for a while she was a rebel. Nunny ended up being a grade school teacher, but her first ambition was to be an actress. She loved the silent movies and expected to be in them one day. I'll never forget the story she told. When Nunny was a young girl, an aunt and uncle came over to visit. She was eavesdropping on their conversation, which she knew she shouldn't do. They said that middle sister Marie, called Sis, was the pretty one with such a lovely complexion. They said that youngest sister, Helen, called Babe, had such nice curl in her hair. But then they said, that Emily sure is homely. Nunny's heart sunk. Nunny ran to a hiding place and cried. How on earth would she make it to the big screen? But by the time her tears were spent, she was determined to become the next Amelia Earhart instead. She decided then and there that her life and happiness did not depend on pretty. So here I am, and I'm asking the question, does my believability rely on pretty? And even more, does it rely on only being pretty in a certain way? Can people only fathom that Marilyn's soul could come back the same as Marilyn from the 1926 to 1962 life. Okay, I read that sentence wrong, but you get the point. Do people think that I have to be pretty to be Marilyn? Okay. Some people on the reincarnation sites said that they thought Marilyn would come back and pick up where her acting career left off. Others said she would surely choose a lifestyle that afforded her privacy and she wouldn't come forward. But I can't base my life on where popular opinion lies. I am what I am. I was who I was. And all I can do is show up and tell my tale. I also have lived other lifetimes, so why would I come back just like Marilyn? Aren't the others a piece of me too? Yes. In the end, Nunny's wisdom is still part of my life, and now and then I am reminded of her when I find a little mauve button in a random spot in my car or my house. Nunny had a long mauve raincoat. I had it since she died in October 2004. Luckily, it fit me just right. Although I'm not petite like she was, I think it was big on her. Eventually, the coat began to look very worn and a couple buttons began to loosen. Before I got around to tightening them up, one of the buttons came off in my car. I carefully placed it in a little compartment and decided to keep it there. Sometimes my boyfriend moves it to another spot. Eventually, I parted with the beloved piece. The lining in it was in terrible shape, and the color was quite dingy and didn't brighten up in the wash. But before tossing it, I removed every button which I cherish as keepsakes. That way I can keep a button here and there in different places like a good luck charm, because I know Nunny is always with me. I swear to God, I always feel like Nunny is the reason I was born into this lifetime and this family. I know I came back awfully fast. My feeling is I came back fast because I wanted to come back and tell people how I really died during my last past life. The irony is I waited so far into this lifetime to do it grand scale that it's almost like I could have stayed on the other side for another 20 years and then come back to life and then come out as a younger, prettier woman. And maybe people would have believed me now. But, you know, what you do, you do. Okay, I just want to read this one other part. I want to read this chapter. God, might be kind of long actually, but I kind of want to read it anyway. It's called Writing the Readings, because I have some friends who are psychics. Some of them I've paid for advice. Some of them just give me advice, you know, but this is interesting. I'm just going to skip to it. I'm going to skip over this a little bit and just get down to the questions. Basically, I have a psychic friend in the UK. His name is Michael. I met him online and I was buying some readings from him. So I was asking him a bunch of questions, and this is what he said. The interesting thing is psychics tend to say different things, and a lot of times they contradict one another. So I really feel it's important that people think for themselves and use their own minds. I think psychic readings might be helpful. I think they can be entertaining, but you always have to live your life. Be careful, do what you know you're supposed to do, and think for yourself. Don't just assume that whatever a psychic says is what is. Okay, that's all I can say. Whether you're looking backwards or frontwards, think for yourself. Input's great, but think for yourself. You've got a mind for a reason. I love my friend Michael. It's just that I've had so many psychics tell me different things that it makes me laugh. And in this book, I think I really only talk about 2 people who are psychics, but I've had so many psychics, empaths, mediums tell me contradictory things. So, okay, I'm asking questions and getting answers. So I say, Michael, okay, I'm talking about a guy named Drew, who I believe was Bobby Kennedy during his last past life. Okay, so when I talk about a guy named Drew, I'm talking about somebody who I wrote another chapter in my book about, who I believe had been Bobby Kennedy. Michael, has Drew ever been a politician or a doctor in a past life? Michael's answer. Michael said Drew has been a politician but not a doctor. He has been a healer but not a doctor. He did say maybe to being Bobby Kennedy. My next question. Michael, there are a couple people in different lifetimes I suspect Drew could have been. I've died badly in several lifetimes, and the man I was involved with played a part. Was he ever responsible or partially responsible for my death during the 1800s or 1900s? And Michael's answer is, Michael got an answer and then a statement he thought was odd. He said he got that Drew was never responsible for my deaths. In each lifetime, he was responsible for looking after me in some way. But Michael also didn't know why he heard the line, I took my job responsibly. And then I comment, of course, being that I believe Drew had been Bobby, I feel that he used his job as an excuse for being there the night Marilyn, died. Like saying, I did what I did and had her shut up or allowed it to happen for my big brother, the president, and the country. As long as she didn't actually die by my hand, I didn't kill her. So I still believe that Drew was Bobby. Okay, next question. Michael, another psychic friend believes that Bobby Kennedy has not reincarnated yet. You told me a couple of weeks ago that Drew may have been Bobby, which I have believed for years. What do you think about what my other friend says? And Michael's answer. Michael said he agrees Bobby is still on the other side. Michael further said that a lot of souls will wait at least 50 years before coming back, but other souls may be more ambitious and come back quicker. However, Michael also said a number of times that a soul usually gets forgiveness on the other side, so saying he is still atoning is a weird thing in a way. Next question. Michael, I don't understand. You have talked to me for months, and in the last several weeks I have droned on and on about the guy I believe was Bobby. I've expressed my belief repeatedly, and you never told me you didn't think he was until I asked you about my other friends' opinions. Michael said that things don't just come to him, and if he doesn't ask his pendulum a question, he doesn't get information. I said, Michael, my other friend believes my soul was Marilyn's. She says that Bobby hasn't reincarnated yet because he is waiting for me. What do you think of that? And Michael says, Marilyn has not fully reincarnated, and he believes that I, Michele, only have a fourth of Marilyn's soul inside me along with my own soul. He said he thinks that Bobby is waiting, but not specifically for me. Then he continued and said Bobby and I will reincarnate together. And I said, Michael, well, that doesn't make sense. You claim I only have part of Marilyn's soul in me, along with my own. And yet you say that Bobby will reincarnate with me? Why would he bother reincarnating with me if I wasn't Marilyn? Answer, Michael claimed that there was some very old reason that goes back many, many years in time that draws Bobby to me, Michele, and ties everything together. No further explanation was given, although Michael said he would look into things further. I asked the question several times. My question, Michael, there are so many Marilyn claimers, it really convolutes things for me when I want people to know how I, Marilyn, really died back in 1962. Michael said that he and his friend Linda worked with my birth date, July 10th, 1964, and they don't believe Marilyn has fully reincarnated yet. They believe her soul was split in 4 parts. They believe I merely have part of her soul in me, but I made an agreement to tell the world what really happened to Marilyn. It is my mission. Michael also said that when a spirit is on the other side, they don't always realize how hard it will be to accomplish something as a human. And he said that some of the other Marilyn claimers just want money and attention. I showed him photos of a bunch of different claimers, and he repeated they want money and attention. My question, Michael, when Marilyn was first dying and I was out of body, my consciousness hit into a mirror, and I have wondered if my energy was scattered to different people. Michael's answer, he said that the mirror might have been a portal. But he didn't really answer the question. He just said it might have been a portal. He didn't say yes or no. All right. My question, Michael, you asked for my birth date and I gave it to you. Then you and your friend Linda did an astrological chart, and you told me that you believe that Marilyn's soul was split in 4 parts and given to various people. But you don't think that any of the other Marilyn claimers I have shown you have those soul parts. So who do you think has the other parts, if that is even true? Because I don't believe it is. Michael's answer, Michael said that deflection is part of protecting Marilyn's soul, and that the reason the other locations of her soul are not known is because Marilyn's soul needs protection. I ask Michael, why does Marilyn's soul need protecting? Protecting from what? Michael's answer, Michael said that he would have to look into that further. I never got any further explanation, although I asked a few times. Next question, Michael. Tina's a good friend of mine who I actually dedicated this book to. Michael, Tina and I want to know something. If Marilyn's soul was split into 4 parts, as you said, then where are the other parts living, and are any of them in boys? And then Michael's answer, Michael said only 2 parts are reincarnated, and Tina and I each have part of Marilyn's soul. Next question. Michael, I believe my energy could have been split, but not my soul. You think I have my own soul and part of Marilyn's as well. And you said I have a mission. So is Marilyn's partial soul just crammed into my body with my own soul, in your opinion? Michael's answer. Michael said that a soul isn't contained in the body, and it is not crammed into the body. He said there is light and vibration and an aura field. He said that field can extend beyond the body, sometimes more during certain periods. And he reminded me that people only utilize a small portion of their brain. My next question, Michael, you said that Tina has part of Marilyn's soul, and Marilyn is her spirit guide. You told me I have part of Marilyn's soul and the mission to tell people how she really died. Okay, first of all, I don't need Marilyn for a spirit guide because my soul was hers, but pretending you are right, how does that make any sense at all that the person who doesn't have Marilyn for a spirit guide, me, is the one who has the mission? Why wouldn't the person with the mission have Marilyn as a guide? Michael's answer. Michael simply said he only tells me what information he is given and that he is not telling me what he himself believes. He said when he is given information, he doesn't try to make sense of it. He just relays it. Then I say, Michael, my friend Tina is very pretty, so why isn't it her mission to tell the world how Marilyn's death happened instead of mine? People like pretty. Even you told me Tina is lovely. And Michael said, it is because I, Michele, am strong and brave and tenacious and and won't back down. Okay, I can't talk. And won't back down to people about this. And then I said something to Tina about this later, and Tina said that I'm the one who has the mission to tell people how Marilyn died because I am braver than she is and will be nicer to people than she would be. And she has seen how mean people get online. Okay, so there's more questions and answers, and I'm just kind of stumbling around here, so it's probably best that I don't keep going because I'm probably just, you know, boring you. I did kind of want to read this one little part, but I don't think I can find it fast enough. Anyway, this is my book. I talk a lot about, like I said, my current lifetime, different things. One of the things I talk about is what it was like to become a stepmom. I know one of the other women who claims she was Marilyn has 4 children, and she used to really heckle me and say that Marilyn would come back and have children because Marilyn always wanted children, and the fact that I don't have any children is proof that I couldn't have been Marilyn. And I said that I have Marilyn's memories. And in fact, I've known my boyfriend for the last 17 and a half years, and I met his daughter when she was 4. And there were just a lot of issues in that family that I became a part of because of things that were going on with her mother. And so I actually kind of became like a instant stepmom. I talk in my book about the ups and downs of helping to raise someone else's child and dealing with a hostile ex-wife. I talk about the joys of it as well as the difficult parts of it. I talk about why I told my boyfriend I'd never marry him. So even though I was totally in love with him, I knew at the end of about, I don't know, a year and 3 months or something like that, you know, I knew after I really was full swing into the stepmom thing that there was just so much craziness going on in the situation with his ex-wife and child and everything. I said, don't ever ask me to marry you. I love you. I'll stay with you, but don't ever ask me to marry you. So I talk about all kinds of things. And the reason I decided to bring that up, which might sound crazy, is because during this current lifetime, I've had friends who have talked about how difficult it is sometimes to be in a blended family. And a lot of the situations didn't work out. And I'm a case where things did last. So I think that's pretty cool. I also talk about the significance of birthmarks because I know some people on the reincarnation sites believe that if you're born with specific birthmarks or scars or whatever, that it could be relative to something that happened to you during a past life. So I literally have a chapter about my birthmarks because I've got 2 birthmarks, and I talk about that and how I do think that they possibly correlate to how I died during my last past life. So these are my 2 books called Marilyn, Not Just Another Girl, The Myth About Sleeping in the Nude, and Marilyn, Thereafter the Fall, My Consequential Reincarnation. And I just wanted to give you some insight as to what it's about. I don't want anyone to be disappointed. There aren't pictures of Marilyn due to copyright laws. There are no nude pictures. And, you know, there's a lot of my current lifetime, but I do a lot of pondering about how my current lifetime is partially shaped by my past lifetime experiences, not just Marilyn's. And I do talk about just many things. Now I want to explain something real quick. The reason I put this picture on the front cover of this book is not because there's nude stuff inside, although I always do put some slight small sex things in my books here and there. It's because no matter what age we're at, we all see ourselves in a certain way. You know, people will use the phrase that you're only as old as you feel, and I still feel like I'm young, even though I'm not. When I look in the mirror, I'm surprised. But, you know, for a long time, my hair was very red. I was coloring it very red. Actually, I just started going blonde in the last couple months. Again, it's kind of just this hair color frenzy I go in periodically where I want to change my look. So at the time I picked out this picture, I did have red hair, and that's why I picked a redheaded girl. And I kind of picked this picture because it represents whimsy, adventure, a little bit of innocence, sexuality. It just, to me, is all about kind of like, you know, life just keeps blossoming. If you keep working, life just keeps blossoming. And she is sitting among the flowers here and kind of hiding herself behind some of the flowers because she's being a little bit modest. But I feel that this picture, when I look at it, I feel like it captures the essence of me. I may not be cute like this, but it captures the essence of how I feel inside. So that's why I came up with this. I just thought I would explain that. My 2 books. And I just want to say that, okay, here I am with my little kitty cat. He's sleeping. All right. So thank you very much for watching this video. And I'm having trouble with my mouse not working. So I'm going to clumsily turn the computer off and say good night. I said clumsily.